So, hi all, I'm Muhammad Arlis from SMAN 8 Jakarta. In this video, I would like to retell a story about a book in order to fulfill my English book review assignment. So, my book title is 1984. 1984 is a dystopian novel written by George Orwell in 1949. This book was an attempt of George Orwell to warn the world about the latent danger of totalitarian or communist society, such as, at that time, in Soviet Union, East Germany, and some other communist countries. In this novel, the world was in an endless war among three major countries, fighting over a vast area of land. The setting of this novel took place in one of those countries called Oceania. Oceania consisted of wide area that in the real world known as American continent, Great Britain, and Australia. Oceanian government was very totalitarian. The party was the highest institution that ran the country and was led by a seemingly omniscient leader, a figure known as Big Brother. The party controlled every aspect of people's lives. Freedom of thought, love, sex, and expression were strictly prohibited. Any action against the party, of course, is the highest crime. Even thinking about the party's flaw could make anybody vanish from society. That act was called thought crime. To control all of its people, the party installed a device called telescreen in almost every place that watched every movement of everybody. That's how the party can control its people until deep in their minds. The main character of this novel was Winston, who was a member of the party. He worked in the Ministry of Truth, where he altered historical records to fit the needs of the party's propaganda. By reading lots of lies that he had to write, he started to realize that the perfect society that was always told by the party to the people never really existed. He started to think that people should have rebelled against the party to liberate themselves. He was, though, too afraid of the party's punishment and did not have any idea about how other people thought about the party. Therefore, he acted normally every day in the office, and he always faked his expression in front of telescreens so he would not be suspected. Winston started to feel that somebody from the party was spying him and trying to get him caught. She was a young, beautiful lady later known as Julia, who kept eyes on him in his office and tried to approach Winston. Winston was afraid that it would be the end of his life, because most of the people who were even just suspected to rebel against the party would be vanished from the society in a short amount of time. His suspicion towards Julia changed in 180 degrees when he received a letter from her that consisted of only 3 words, which is, "I love you." It started their affair against the party's rule. Eventually, they rented a room above the second-hand store. This relationship lasted for some time. Winston was sure that they would be caught and punished sooner or later, while Julia is more pragmatic and optimistic. As Winston's affair with Julia progressed, his hatred for the party grew more and more intense. At last, he received the message that he had been waiting for. O'Brien, a high-ranked party member, wanted to see him. Winston and Julia traveled to O'Brien's luxurious apartment. As a high-ranked member of the party, O'Brien led a life of luxury that Winston could only imagine. Surprisingly, O'Brien confirmed to Winston and Julia that, like them, he hated the party and said that he worked against it as a member of the Brotherhood, which is a rebellious organization. He indoctrinated Winston and Julia into the Brotherhood and gave Winston a copy of the Manifesto of the Brotherhood, and Winston read the book to Julia in the room above the store. Suddenly, soldiers barged in and seized them. Torn away from Julia and taken to a place called the Ministry of Love, Winston found that O'Brien, too, was a party spy who simply pretended to be a member of the Brotherhood in order to trap Winston into committing an open act of rebellion against the party. O'Brien spent months torturing and brainwashing Winston, who struggled to resist. At last, O'Brien sent him to the dreaded room 101, the final destination for anyone who opposed the party. Here, O'Brien told Winston that he would be forced to confront his worst fear, which was rat. O'Brien now strapped a cage full of rats onto Winston's head and prepared to allow the rats to eat his face. Winston snapped, pleading with O'Brien to do it to Julia, not to him. Giving up Julia was what O'Brien wanted from Winston all along. His spirit broken, Winston was released to the outside world. He met Julia but no longer felt anything for her. He had accepted the party entirely and had learned to love Big Brother.